So now we're going to stitch the upper half of the leaf to the tip. I've put my waist knot and my linen thread at the side here on the line, and we're going to cast on with a couple of little stitches within the design shape. Now the method of working here is the same, but we reverse the direction of work. So we're now going to be coming up with the needle on the bottom edge of the leaf and descending on the top edge. But the rules about what you do with that thread as it comes up and goes down, or with your needle, are the same. So as the needle emerges, we're leaving a needle's width breathing space between your needle and the previous stitch, just as we did before on the upper edge. And then as we go down on the top, we're angling the needle along the split stitch, so the needle is parallel to the split stitch, 45 degrees to the fabric, and tucked towards and under the previous satin stitch. So exactly the same rules, but reversed. And the reason we're reversing that is because now we have our obtuse angle on this side of the shape. So the obtuse angle is here, between the satin stitch and the split stitch edge, so that's the side we emerge on, and the acute angle is here, with its little slot into which we can comfortably push the needle. So slotting in under that previous satin stitch. And again, we're doing that because we want to maintain that steep angle. So we want to draw the tip out to the right. So this is why we're leaving the gap here, pulling it to the right, extending the length of the stitch, drawing it out to flow this way. And we're pushing the needle as far as possible in here on the left to draw the stitch to the left. So we're stretching the stitch out, extending on the right, pushing in on the left, and drawing it out to be that lovely long angle. So leaving the gap as we come up and pushing in as we go down. Again, that needle compacting the existing satin stitches together. Now we're at the tip now, but our stitch is still lovely and long. A lot of people end up at the tip of a shape with very short stubby stitches. A long stitch flowing to the point is always going to give you a nicer, sharper, more fluid point. We keep extending the stitch out beyond the tip and tucking back for a couple more stitches. That helps you just to sharpen the point, give it a really lovely crisp tip. And you can extend that out as far as you feel it's necessary. Our very last stitch, emerging just as we would normally do with a little bit of breathing space, instead of going down through the fabric, this time we're going to push back beneath the satin stitch, emerging through the satin stitch and pulling through. And you can see that little bit of thread at the end creates a lovely sharp tip. It lifts and pads the point and also finishes off the thread. Clip that off. Last stage of your satin, which is really, really important, is to burnish the work. You can use your heavy 24 chenille needle to do this, so you support the fabric underneath with the pressure of your finger, and you push across firmly, pushing against that finger that's underneath the frame to support it. Don't rub, just push firmly. You can also use a mallour for that if you have one. This is a mallour here with a rounded, narrow point, and then at the other end it has a flat end, but it's the point we want here. Anything blunt and smooth and finely pointed will work for this. Don't ever use anything with an abrasive or a cutting edge because it will destroy your satin stitch. But with this smooth polish tool, we can push over the satin to burnish the finish, particularly important with linen to give it that final polish. And that will also settle down any stitches that are raised up a little bit and just push them back into the satin stitch. If you've got any little dips in the edge, you should also go back with your needle and give them a little stretch and then a push and push in. They're usually just due to your stitch being a little bit tighter at that point. You can also take your firm needle, and it must be a firm needle with good pressure, and just run it, again supporting with the finger underneath, run it around the edge of your satin stitch, pressing firmly against the satin. You're not pressing into the linen and scoring, so you're not hearing that horrible noise. That could actually cut through the linen. You're pressing with the flat of your needle and rubbing firmly along the edge of the satin stitch to smooth and settle any stitches that are slightly raised. Just settle those in and give it that final, beautiful, polished finish. And there we go.